Hey everyone, Biohacking Blondes here. We're so excited today. We have Coach Erinne Guthrie with us. Hi, Erinne. We're so excited to
Hi.
have you. So Erinne specializes in optimizing the performance and well-being of triathletes, employing a unique blend of triathlon-based training and holistic lifestyle principles that have yielded remarkable results for thousands of athletes worldwide. So, as Full Circle Coaching LLC's founder and chief results officer since 2009, Erinne brings over 27 years of personal racing experience. And you guys won't believe this, comprising over 360 races and numerous podium finishes. Woohoo! That's impressive. That's a lot of races. Drawing from this extensive background, she empowers her clients to achieve their full potential across any finish line they aspire to cross, which I love that. So Erinne, we're so excited to have you. Tell
Thank you
us
so
a
much.
little, yeah, so tell us a little bit about the journey that led you to found Full Circle Coaching.
Well, way back in 1997, I was studying to get my master's in exercise physiology after realizing that nothing else made me happy but exercise. I had a million jobs after I graduated from college, and I was like, I don't know what else to do, so let's make a career of this movement thing. It makes me happy, and I want to be happy. So
Right.
I was studying and I did my first race, and I had previously been a gym rat. So I had about 10 extra pounds of muscle on me. But I loved the weights and feeling strong. But when I did the triathlon, what was so different was being outside, having the wind, go through my face while I'm on the bike and pushing hard. And obviously the ocean, the swim was first. Even though I had a terrible swim, I was swallowing water. I was like, oh my God, I have to bike and run after. This is crazy. And then I got on the run and I was like, wow, this actually feels amazing. And when I finally crossed the finish line, and I had just done this, last minute, I had trained for like a month. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so happy. Like, this is all outside. Like, I've been inside. What am I doing? I live in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just literally fell in love with the way I felt across the finish line. And, I had a boyfriend at the time, and I ended up getting on the podium, and he didn't even wait for me to get my award. So I was like, forget that guy, right? I was like, wow, like I've never swam before, like intentionally. I
Wow.
borrowed my brother-in-law's bike, which was a steel bike. I wore a bikini, which you're not really supposed to do. And, and I just had fun. And the results spoke for themselves, and I was addicted. That was it. It was over.
Yeah.
So then I
Wow.
did that with my ex-husband. I actually found a partner, and we had a company together, but it fell apart. And so in 2009, I formed my own company, Full Circle Coaching, and it's based around the burnout that I achieved. Or, what happened was you had, before we started recording, you talked about the addiction of the exercise, the addiction of the run club, and I fell into that.
Mhm.
You get a high when you exercise endurance, in endurance ways, and it's that runner's high or a swimmer's high or whatever you're doing. And it takes a certain amount of fitness to get there. But once you're there, you want it. You want to feel it all the time. But guess what? You got to rest. And you also have to do your strength training to balance all that breakdown that your body does to, supply the endurance, right? But I didn't know that. No one educated me about that. Even in my education, in my exercise physiology, studying master's program, a lot of the stuff I learned in there actually made me sicker. And we
Mhm.
can get to that. That's why the holistic lifestyle coaching, is a part of my program. I became a holistic lifestyle coach to heal myself in
Mhm.
2009 after I had my daughter, and I had complete burnout. Like, we're talking, I couldn't even get through a yoga class. I was so exhausted.
Mhm.
And I felt like a terrible mother because I had no energy to run around with my newborn baby. And I was like, what is wrong with me? But every time I tried to exercise, I would just get sick.
Mhm.
So I finally was like, I have to do something. And I fell into this program. Paul Check, who lives out in San Diego, he has the Check Institute. And so I took his level 1 holistic lifestyle coaching program in Fort Lauderdale, and I went on to become a level 3. And it's changed my life. And now I implement it with all of the athletes that I coach. And it's where the reason I've been able to do 360, now 66, 366 races. I just raced again last weekend, is because of my holistic lifestyle principles. Because without those, my body would have broken down a long time ago, you know? So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Wow.
Can, can you, that's incredible. Can you tell us a little bit about, I'm very fascinated about how you got kind of up from that, or, how you recovered from that burnout. Like, what did you do? What did you implement? What, like,
Yeah. Yeah, so it was kind of crazy because I eat everything organic. Even my mom, we had vitamins from the day we were born. She was very, very health conscious. She threw out all the sugar in our family, in our food, in our kitchen from a very young age. So it wasn't like I wasn't eating healthy, but believe it or not, carbohydrates aren't for me, right? So I eat real food, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. But in my education, at college, they said 70% of your nutrition as an endurance athlete should come from carbohydrates. But in reality, that was causing me to have this blood sugar up and down, up and down, up and down. Not enough fat, not enough protein. And I literally got into such extreme adrenal fatigue. I was ready to win this race the next day overall after having my daughter. It had been 18 months and I was ready to go. And instead I got sick. And so first of all, the depression set in because you don't get that high from the endurance exercise anymore. I watched my husband go out and train every day. All my athletes were training and feeling good, but I just couldn't get there anymore. So the holistic lifestyle coaching program actually, when I walked in and the first day, I'm like, oh, this is here. I'm here to heal myself. Like, now I get it. Thanks, universe, for, directing me here, because I just implemented all the things like eliminate all the allergen foods, soy, wheat, dairy, and gluten. I don't eat any of that stuff, but actually I can eat dairy now because there is raw organic dairy available and I can eat it now that I've healed my gut and I have an 80-20, I live 80-20. But in the beginning, I had to go really clean. And it actually took me 18 months to recover. It wasn't a quick fix. It was a long journey. And I just stayed the course. I had a parasite. I mean, I did everything. And now I offer that to my athletes as well. So I have a program called Nutrition Essentials that is combined with my triathlon program. And it's a mandatory part of the program. Like, no one comes into my triathlon training because they're just going to end up where I was if they're not careful, right? So right from the beginning, I make sure that they have the baseline of health so that triathlon doesn't detract from their life and make them sick or injured, right? So it has to be there first. The nutrition has to be there first to have the performance that they desire.
Amazing.
do you do blood tests as well? Is that a part of it, or so
A
you
breath
check for
test?
gut infections and
Yeah. So
heavy
yeah,
metals?
so exactly. I refer those out. So with my program, it's all based on food because if we can't choose the right foods, and then if we don't get the results we want, then we go out and we'll do a parasite test. We'll do the blood work. We'll do everything. But all the basic foods stay, right? So all the nutrition baseline stays. If we can't get the breathing right, the hydration, the fats, proteins, and carbs in the right ratio, the timing of the food, the quality of the food, you're eliminating the toxins. If that's not there to baseline, it doesn't matter what vitamins you're taking. Supplements always come second to the basic lifestyle principles. And don't get me wrong, I love supplements and I do think they help. And I have a whole list because you sent me some questions before, but I'm like, well, what do I do biohacking? And I'm like, oh my God, I do a lot.
Yeah. 100%. Well, food is like, diet is really the foundation of everything. I mean,
Yes.
it's really like, even in terms of like exercise, I see so many. So I'm a functional practitioner, nutrition practitioner. So
Oh,
I
cool.
see so many people come in, mostly women, who are so obsessed with the exercise part of things and they're
Yeah, they're missing.
exhausted, especially if they're already moms. Because like you mentioned in your story, it's like after you become a mom, there's that delicate period after, you have a child where your hormones are like trying to figure out the world, and you're also not sleeping and you're not recovering in the same way. So it's like it's almost like you are reborn into a different person after having a child, and you really have to
It's a
recalibrate.
different level of stress. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's unlike anything I've ever experienced, right?
Yes. No
Yeah.
doubt. So that's amazing. But also what you're talking about too, the burnout. I think a lot of people don't realize that burnout actually is a real thing. Like, it can be measured. Like, you just measure your adrenal glands. You can do a Dutch test. You can do a hormone panel. And you can look at your cortisol. So if your cortisol, we call it a flatline curve. So if your cortisol has gone like this when it's supposed to be up and over and kind of down like that, then you're basically exhausted, and exercise will exhaust you. All of that stuff will exhaust you if you don't have enough cortisol. So
Yeah,
even
I literally didn't have any. Like they did my cortisol and they're like, you don't have any. And
yeah.
my cholesterol was so low. They were like, how are you even walking around? Like they're like, everybody wants to have low cholesterol. Well, guess what? If you're too low, it's a really bad thing. Like you have
Right.
zero energy. You have no, I mean, I was scared. I was like, I don't want to feel like this for the rest of my life. So I
No.
commit, I'm addicted to exercise, but I was able to be like, no, I am not doing that right now because I need to heal. And I wanted to be, there for my family too, and also be a good coach. Right. So it was definitely a struggle, but through the system and also working in more yoga type exercises where you're building your chi, breath work, meditation. I have a very big spiritual life, and that gives me my energy. And also I do half as much training and I get the same results. I'm still on the podium because I've learned how important the balance is. So you see the yin and the yang in my logo. But actually the more I rest, the better my performance.
Yes. Yes. It's
Yeah.
so interesting, your journey, Erin, because when my first son was born, it sounds like
The
me
same.
talking when you're
Yeah.
talking, exactly the same.
Mhm.
So I was obsessed with running, and I would just, but different from you, I didn't treat my body well at all. I would have about 2 pots of coffee, 3 lollipops, water, and soya milk in bunch. And then and some slimming pills. And then I would go for my like 10-mile run, and I would be like levitating. Okay.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
came to the point where my first son was born, and I was like you, I couldn't get out of bed. But
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's at that time.
Yeah, so
So
that's the third degree of adrenal fatigue. I was number 2. I got to level 2 and I stopped it before it got to Hashimoto's, thankfully. But wow, I can't even imagine feeling worse.
no, it was so awful. And I remember I was in a doctor's office, a very famous Ayurvedic practitioner in London. And he said to me, Alexandra, how did you even get here? He's like, kind of what you were saying. I'm like, this is like similar story, but
Yeah.
what you had different from me sounds like you were still eating really good food, where
Yeah.
I wasn't feeding my body at all. I was feeding it with sugar and caffeine and slimming pills. So so you kind of got away with it and you could heal yourself, and that's wonderful. So
Yeah. Well, how did you recover?
so I recovered basically through a functional medicine doctor, but it took years and years and years. I went to different people, naturopaths, acupuncturists, and I finally found a functional medicine doctor. She tested my heavy metals and my molds, and both were just off the charts. We started detoxifying those, and then we started basically building me up again.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I had severe dizzy spells too. I had to sit down. I had to hold on to like tables. It would like spin all of a sudden.
It's not enough
Horrible.
nutrients in your body.
What's that?
Not enough nutrients.
No, exactly.
Sustenance. Like
Yeah,
you were burning fumes,
burning fumes. Exactly.
And as women, I do believe that we can do it. We push, right? We can do amazing things on fumes, but it does catch up to us eventually. That will, can't sustain us forever,
Yeah.
And even though the nutrition I was eating I did soy, I did dairy, I did wheat, everything was whole wheat and organic, but those things were actually the things that I needed to eliminate because the gluten intolerance, I wasn't absorbing any of the nutrients from the foods that I was eating because of the gluten. So once I eliminated the gluten, then the healthy foods that I was eating, the fruits and the vegetables and the healthy proteins, I was able to start absorbing. But it took, a while for the gut to heal. That's a part of my program, is a gut healing protocol, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks. But that's major because we're all, unfortunately, loaded with plastics and toxins and stuff like that. So our gut lining and our microbiome, we're constantly needing to update it and help, secure it so that we can actually digest the foods that we are eating and breaking them down so that we can absorb them, So
Yeah. And gluten is so interesting because people think it's like an allergy. They're like, oh, I don't have that allergy or I don't have that problem. But it's like, it actually affects everyone because we don't have the enzyme to break it down. So if you're eating it 3 times a day, let's say, like breakfast, you're having cereal, lunch, you're having a sandwich, dinner, you're having, you know, pasta. It's like a constant assault on your small intestine, causing it to be leaky. And then if you don't have a strong stomach to begin with, boom, you're like everything's
Yep.
leaking into the bloodstream and you're making yourself sick. You're making, you know, yourself allergic to it, all these other things that you shouldn't be allergic to. So,
Right.
and it's funny to me because I still encounter people, even in the health industry, which is, I think, interesting, who scoff at gluten still.
Right.
Like, oh, somebody made that up. Like, it's a joke. It's not real, blah, blah. And it's just so crazy to me because it can be like the one main changing factor, like the number one thing that you can make your health better. Like,
My
yeah,
husband and my kids.
yeah,
They don't
yeah,
have those people, Molly. They still, oh yeah, right.
yeah,
You know, that's
No,
what
it's a
I
battle. It's a battle. I mean, I will say
yeah,
that when I healed myself and changed my nutrition and my lifestyle, I got divorced because my husband was like, "You're crazy." But
yeah,
I'm like,
You're right.
"Hey,
Yeah,
I want to feel good and you're making me feel bad."
you're right.
yeah. There you go.
Exactly. You
Well,
gotta go.
yeah. Well, I always say too, in the health world, once you get healthy, people don't like it. People don't really like it because it's like holding up a mirror. They don't want to see
Yeah.
someone help working on themselves when they don't want to. So they kind
Right.
of, you know,
Yeah.
they're like,
Because it's easier
I'm
not to work on yourself.
Yeah.
right. It's easier.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
their safety zone because they don't want to get, you know, food for especially gluten is so addictive. I mean, even for
Oh
me
my
in my
gosh.
journey, it took me like kind of really years to like completely get off of it. Um,
Really?
because it's so it has like
It makes
those
you feel good.
yeah, it's a
It's like a
morphin.
high.
Yeah, exactly. That's why pizza,
Exactly.
everyone's like, pizza, I love pizza. And it's not
Yeah.
just
I know.
because it tastes good, it's because afterward you get like this high from it. It's
No,
like a
you totally
Yeah.
do.
morphine.
Yeah. And you
So,
Yeah,
crash.
for sure.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I work with Body Health. That's one of my major affiliate supplement companies. And Dr. Minkoff, you know, he talks about it's really the glyphosate as well on all the grains. So it's the combination of the gluten and the glyphosate that really destroy the gut. And so, you know, he's been an instrumental part of my healing journey as well, just because he's also a triathlete. He's like, I think he's 76 or 78 years old, and he's done 46 Ironmans. It's crazy.
Oh,
But you know, so yeah, so you got to find whatever is going to help you make the change. Like my daughter, you know, she knows she can't eat gluten, but she wants to fit in with her friends.
yeah,
So we have the digestive enzymes, we have the glutenese, we manage it as best that we can, but it's her journey. Like she's going to have to figure this out.
yep.
And the one thing that
Yep.
gluten does that people don't realize is it triggers your immune response, right? So if you're getting sick all the time, it could be your, you know, it is a gluten. Your body's dealing with the gluten instead of fighting off any bacteria or any, you know, assaults that are coming into your system. And until you eliminate that gluten, then your immune system doesn't have a chance to do its job, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your immune system is actually in your small intestine, and people don't really
Yeah.
even think about that. Like, oh, my immune system's like in my gut. Like, yeah, like they
Yes.
think it's some amorphous, like my immune system is like in the clouds somewhere or something. I don't know what people think, but it's like it's no, it's like actually
It's
in
literally
your
in
intestine.
there.
It's like it's one cell thick lining in the intestine that everything you eat, that's how like an apple, if you eat an apple, that's how all the nutrients from the apple are then absorbed into the body and then go to the bloodstream so that the red blood cells can carry, you know, vitamin A, vitamin E, but whatever it is to all the different parts of the body that need it.
Yeah,
So if that's leaky from the gluten or whatnot, then you have a dismantled immune system too. Yeah.
exactly.
So it's a whole piece of it. But that's amazing that you do that too. Where do you refer out to for the blood tests?
So I have a functional medicine. Actually, she's an Ironman triathlete as well.
Oh,
So I
cool.
have
Oh,
everybody
wow.
who's like in the endurance world.
Yeah.
And you know, you can get a blood test. You just get the prescription online, and then she'll help us with any additional with hormones stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, I have seen so many improvements just from the nutrition changes, right? And then we add the supplements, and if we need to go further in as far as like a parasite cleanse or anything deeper, heavy metal cleanse, like you said, Alexandra, that was a big one for me. I did a hair mineral analysis, and then they were like, oh my God, you got to detox sooner than later because it could catch up with you. And then you don't realize about the heavy metals because it's like a quiet, silent thing until one day you have some problem, right?
Yeah.
But I still, as far as the basics are the basics, and those fundamentals have to be there, whether you're doing the other stuff as well,
How do I have a question about like female, endurance training. So like, women, obviously we have our periods, we go through a cycle throughout the month or you're in menopause or you're in various stages of your life, perimenopause, whatnot. How do you train people through those different stages? Like, do you tell them, should they not run on their period? Should they, like what are there rules for training around the like female hormone cycles?
Yes, there's more about it now in the last probably 5 years than there has been in the past. But you actually are stronger while you have your period. It's just it's
Wow.
leading up to
Wow,
the
that's
period. It's like the first
interesting.
14 days, the first 14 days where you're not bleeding. Sometimes it's just that 7 days right before you start to bleed. That's when you are really needing to nurture, and you don't want to be doing this crazy endurance. You can do weights because it's a different type of exercise. It's more anabolic, which is building you up. And you can do the heavier weights and you're not like sweating out there for hours and hours and hours. And then while you actually have your period and you're bleeding out, you can also, that's when you actually have more endurance. So although it's complicated on race day.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's when
it's because your hormones are like the week before is when everything's dropping.
Yes.
And then it like the period comes and it's almost like a release of like, okay, now I'm back to kind of feeling more normal.
And Erinne, what's interesting with that is I told you before we got online here that I had a struggling run today, and I'm about to get my period like tomorrow. So
so this is where you should have done some weights.
I should have done some weights. Exactly. No, that's super interesting. And I mean, the other question in this kind of realm is, because if you've got a really strong mind, right? If you constantly, so there's two things to it. When you're a triathlete, the mind plays a huge role, right? So you got to have a really strong mind, but because I think that's where I ran myself to the ground, where my mind was so strong, but my body said stop, but I just didn't listen to that. So how do you kind of learn to listen to it? And like, I think an extreme example is David Goggins, who I think I spoke to you about. He doesn't listen at all to his body, right? So you told me you had a little insight about him because people look up to him, right? What was your little insight that you said to me, which I thought was really interesting?
Yeah, so he's touted as this amazing, inspirational, person that like helps you push through your boundaries. But I've heard all this stuff about him. I never read his book, but I heard him on a podcast. And he told the person, I think it was, I can't remember his name, but he said, it takes me about 45 minutes to be able to start running because I'm limping so badly when I get out of bed in the morning. And I said, that's your body talking to you. Pain is your friend and a messenger that's telling you you are doing something a little bit too much. So, you're not supposed to push through that. Pain is your friend and it's a messenger. And if you are hobbling around, don't get me wrong, when you start moving, your endorphins fly and you feel amazing. That's why we're the top of the food chain. This is how we survived running from animals, running from bears and lions, because in the moment, you can turn off any pain you have and run for your life. That's how we survived. But guess what? Within the next 24 to 48 hours, you might have a pulled muscle or a broken bone that you don't even feel because your endorphins were so active. And if you are constantly doing that, you will get to a point where your joints just don't work anymore. I mean, you will destroy your anatomy so that you can't function properly, and that's where, someone told me, like, we're going to look back on this period of our healthcare for our body, our structure, that we were like barbarians, but for cutting off our joints, because hip replacement, knee replacement, foot surgery, all this kind of stuff. You can actually heal from all of this stuff if you give your body enough time. Most things, not broken bones, you have to let them heal. And if they're really, really bad, you need the screws and all that stuff. But like I do not agree with surgery. If I get injured, I will take the time my body needs to repair. I'll back off. I will do exercise that still I can get what I need, but I'm not going to overuse that joint to the point of having a surgery. Like I'm not going to do it. And so for him, that's his thing. And he had a really rough childhood, and this is how he deals with his life. But I don't really ascribe to pushing and not listening to the pain as the messenger that it was meant to be,
Yeah.
Right. Right. But what about like in the fact of like what we're talking about women and like exhaustion? So you feel exhausted.
Then you need to rest.
Then you need to rest. Okay. So
that's a sign too, even though it's not pain.
Yes, it's the sign.
You're exhausted, but you're kind of, it's like that wired but tired feeling where you're like,
Yeah, that's the
keep
worst.
going, but you're like in the back of your head, you're like, sit down, sit down. Like I get that sometimes, and I'm like, ooh, I start to hear that little voice that says like, you have been standing for like 7 hours, like you need to, like it's time. So then you have to listen to that instead of, it's like the devil and the angel on the on your shoulders.
Totally.
And so in my training program, I have hours trained. So everybody has a watch and they track their training, right? And we track strength, we track swim, bike, run, and also they have the ability to track their nutrition. And we look at the parameters at the end of the week. And if you're training for a sprint triathlon, it's really not a lot of work. It's like 6 hours of training a week. It's not that much, right? An Ironman, you need to train between 8 to 12 to up to 20 hours a week, but not the whole time. And so we also periodize your training to build you up to get a physiological adaptation to accomplish the goal. But we also have to back off of that and help you recover. So we do a 2-week to 3-week build and then a full week of recovery. And sometimes someone might only need 5 days of recovery, and then we go back in. And so your body actually gets stronger during the recovery, not during the training. So it's all about having that balance, again, the yin and the yang, and doing everything 80-20. It's not 100% all the time.
Right. And when do people usually come to you? Do they come to you, let's say 6 months before a triathlon, or do they how does it kind of work? And how do you?
It's funny because some people are like, yeah, I really want to do an Ironman and it's 4 months away and I don't know how to swim. And I'm like, okay, let's do this, right? So there's the person I'm going to get them to the finish line, and I'm going to make sure that they don't hurt themselves. That's number one. So that person is usually the last minute. Okay, I just want to check this bucket list item off, and we'll get them there. And then there's the person who I want to qualify for Kona, which is the world championships of the race. And they usually come to me with some level of fitness, but I do video analysis. So biomechanics is really, really big. How you swim, how you bike, and how you run, because I don't want you to get more injured from all the volume. And then strength training is there, and then nutrition. So usually we work on those foundational pieces, and then we build them up for whatever the distance of the race they're doing. And then I have beginner tri program. That's a shorter 8-week program. You can do a sprint triathlon in 6 to 8 weeks, no problem, even less really. But the whole idea is to show up and not feel bad, right? Show up with confidence that you're going to do this, and then feel really good across the finish line, not survive it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's crazy. And can you talk a little bit about the people that you've helped and some amazing results that they have achieved? And
so over the years, I've coined my program Triathlon Transformation, because the transformation is real, right? So most people come in and they don't have belief in themselves for what's possible. They have a lot of fear, and they've paid a lot of money for this race. They've bought a bike and they've invested, their family's supporting them to do this. But, most of the people are just doubtful about their own ability. And I believe anybody can go out and do an Ironman. You just got to have enough time, right? So we might not be able to do it in 4 months, but if you give me a year, I'll get you there, right? So I would say the biggest transformations are just when they feel how amazing it feels, even for a sprint triathlon, which is a lot shorter. Just the amount of belief in themselves is so inspiring to watch. And that's what motivates me more than anything else, is how they are like able to lose weight just by not even thinking about losing weight. They
Mhm.
are able to feel energy and have like so much, vigor for life, where they have been, sitting on the couch or just dragging themselves around. Now they're like, oh, it feels so good to swim in the ocean. And, the sunrise is so gorgeous when we're riding our bikes. And, you know what I mean? Like, so they found this whole other parts of themselves that they didn't even know existed. And guess what? Their family's happy about it, right? And we'll get to the part, there is a negative there, right? Because people become obsessed with it, right? So, but the most part, the transformation comes from feeling amazing across the finish line, having more energy, showing up at work better, showing up for their families more, because they're taking care of themselves for that hour in the morning, and then they can be a dad or be the mom that they need to be. And they just feel amazing. So I've had people heal themselves from, not having to take any more antacids and medications and depression medication, because they're in this balanced place. It's as opposed to being on this roller coaster of work, stress, all that stuff, and doing nothing for themselves. But on the other hand, you can have the addictive personality person that, forgets they're married, ignores their kids because they're training, 8 hours on every weekend. And so this is where I come in as well and help them realize, I don't work with professional athletes. I work with people who have jobs and families, and I help them realize, oh, I am married. I have a life. I really do need to show up in the rest of the areas of my life, but I can do both because I know now how to train smart in this particular amount of time, right? So then I can go home and take the kids to the park on a Sunday afternoon because I'm done training. So there's that. But specifically, I have a girl that I'm coming to mind. Her name is Christine, and she's worked with me. And she came back from pregnancy just having really low self-esteem, right? She just didn't have a lot of confidence in herself. And so we got back to training for a triathlon, and she realized she did a couple of races and she felt good again. And she realized she really loves swimming. So we're in our 4th year of training together, and she's about to swim from San Francisco to Catalina next weekend. Yep.
Wow.
And then next summer, she's swimming the English Channel.
Oh my
Whoa.
God. So
Yeah.
how long is that? How long is the swim?
So she's planning on being out there 19 hours for from San Francisco to Catalina. And then the one for the the English Channel is like 38 hours. So it's a full night and day of swimming. But she's going to do it. Like, she's so confident. Like, we have her training plan dialed in. We have her nutrition dialed in. She is a big time executive at NBC. And she has an 8-year-old son, and
Wow.
she's married. Like, she's doing it all, right? But she's right. And like, talk about a transformation from this, not really confident woman after having a baby and not really happy with her body. Now she's super proud, right?
Wow.
Molly,
It's
can you sign up?
amazing. I know, right? I'm curious, how do people so I was telling Aaron about this before we got on, but I used to do New York road runners in New York when I lived in Manhattan, because so many people were runners. And so you would join the road runners and everyone would go to Central Park like every weekend, and you do like a 5K, a 10K, whatever. I did a half marathon, and I remember like my legs were like when the universe sends you signs about you should not do this, like my legs were tingling. Like I was like, I didn't really train properly, to be honest with you, but right. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. Well, I was in my early 20s, so it was like,
Right.
things are always easier.
A lot in your early 20s.
Yeah. So I remember that experience though, but I remember being like, wow, that was so cool. That was so amazing that I did it and all this stuff. But how do most people come to it? Like, I was in a big city. I knew a lot of people who were doing it, but like, if you're not in that, like, kind of, that kind of community, how do people find out about triathlons, and how do they get into it? Like, what makes them want to do it?
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that you see it, you hear about it and you see it, and you either want to do it or you don't. There's not really any kind of gray area in there. Like, I'll have people, like, I'll give you an example of a guy. He contacted me, I think it was last year, and he won the lottery for the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon. Okay. And he was smoking and drinking. He was really unhealthy. And I was like, okay, let's do this. He did give me 6 months, which was, I really appreciate it. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for coming to me as soon as you found out you got in. But we had to do some work, right? And I have a 6-day triathlon camp in February. And so we trained for that. And then he showed up. And I just remember he was so excited. I actually have a video of him on the second or third day. And he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I just swam like, a mile in the water in the pool with all these triathletes. And like, he was like, I'm a triathlete now, so it was really, really cool. So yeah, it's one of those things like you see it on TV, right? So I remember being 12 years old and lying in my grandfather's bed because I was sick. And I was, the family was away, and I watched NBC Sports, and I saw this woman crawling across the finish line in the Ironman in Kona. And I was like, I want to do that one day. What?
Wow.
I have no idea why I said that, but guess what? That's what I ended up doing.
Wow. It was just like in the stars for you. It just was like,
yeah, it was there for sure. I've actually tried not to do it anymore. So when I became the holistic lifestyle coach, I'm like, okay, triathlon's over. I haven't done it in a while. I'm just going to focus on holistic lifestyle coaching. And I was like, no, it makes me happy. Swimming, biking, and running, I just get the biggest high. I just I can't leave it. I have to combine it.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So how competitive are you? Are you watching your time the whole time, or are you just kind of doing it to do it? That's the part that I always struggled with. I was always like the person who just was like, I just want to check it off a list. I didn't even care what my time was. I was like, I did it. I did a half marathon. I'm so excited. So, and people were like, what was your time? And I was like, I don't really know what my
3 hours.
Yeah. It's like, you don't want to know my time, but I crossed that finish line,
That's actually the most important part, right? You're out there. You showed up to start. You woke up early. You showed up and you finished. That's huge. That's huge in itself. But I have definitely to be the best coach I can. And sometimes I don't work face to face with my athletes. We do use parameters, right? So it's not always intensity or speed as the parameter. That's not the parameter. Sometimes it's heart rate or stroke count or stride count or, RPE, rate of perceived exertion. And for those that are more competitive, it's actually easier to get faster and do better when you are tracking yourself, because the big light bulb moment is you really don't push hard all the time. You actually have to learn how to go really, really easy. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is you build this giant aerobic engine and you nutrition and you have strength training. And then from that, when you decide to go fast and you're training, you're doing intervals or whatever the case is, you have much more access to your own body functions and your performance because you've built this giant foundation, right? Yeah. So I am competitive. I have an alter ego on the race course. Her name is Trina Try. And I can't control her. I say every race, I'm just gonna chill out. It's not important. And then I'm out there and I'm like, okay.
Okay, here we go. Can you just tell us, for the listener that don't know, how long is the run, how long is the swim, and how long is the biking?
Okay.
And what is your best time?
Okay, so the sprint triathlon, I'm not fast. That's the thing, is I considered a fast triathlete in any way, but I know how to prepare and I know how to race, because racing requires pacing. So most people, in the very beginning, they're way ahead of me, but at the end, I catch them, because it's all about where you end. It's not about how you start. So the sprint distance triathlon can be anywhere from a 400-yard swim up to like a 600 or 800-yard swim. Every race director has different distances. The bike is typically 8 to 15 miles. And then the run is always typically a 5K, which is 3.1 miles. That's a sprint distance. Then the Olympic, which we just had the Olympics and the triathlon and the Olympics, it is a 0.9 mile swim, a 24.8 mile bike, and then a 6.2, a 10K run. Yeah. And then the half Ironman is a 2,200 swim or 1.2 mile swim. It's a 56-mile bike, and then a 13.1, which is a half marathon. And then the full Ironman is double that. So it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then a 26.2 mile run. Yeah. And then I have athletes that do double that. I have a double Ironman athlete that I helped race a few years ago.
How
Um,
do you have to eat in the middle of that? Like,
Oh yeah, you eat the whole time.
You
That's
eat the whole
actually
time.
a
Gotcha.
skill. You have to train your gut to be able to absorb the nutrients. And that's a really important factor of my program because most sports nutrition is toxic, right? Gatorade, no thank
Oh,
you.
awful.
Like you will never see me sponsored by a big brand like that because it's just not healthy. And I will never succumb to that because actually that's what made me sick was the sports nutrition was part of the way that my gut got so unhealthy. So I have all these healthier sources of sports nutrition.
Tell us a few.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
tell us a few.
So Muir, M-U-I-R, they have the best, healthiest sports gels. Like, you see people eating like a gel, a goo, right? So the Muir ingredients, 100% organic with molasses, sea salt, and real fruit. And they taste delicious. And if you're fat adapted, they have like cashew butter as a base instead of the fruit base. And all of these companies I do have affiliations with so we can get discounts from them. But that's probably one of my favorite sports gels. And then Vitargo, Vitargo, that is a carbohydrate drink mix. And they're plain, only get the plain. It is one ingredient, potato starch. That's it. So it's really gentle on your stomach and you can absorb it super quickly. And there's no other toxic ingredients in it. So that's a great source of carbohydrate that you're putting in your water bottle to help you sustain your energy throughout the day or throughout the workout or whatever the case is. We did a race called RAM, which is Ride Across America. And we left from San Diego, California, and we went to Maryland in 7 days. And every time we trained, we used Vitargo on the bike. And then of course we were eating as healthy as we could in between, but it was a 4-person relay. So for that stuff to not give me an upset stomach after 7 days, 24 hours a day, it's a solid product.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wait, that's all you ate for 7 days or no?
No, we had meals in between. So we were on the bike for 6 hours at a time. So we had it was four people, 2 people and 2 people. So we rode for 6 hours, alternating every 30 minutes. And then the other people rode for 6 hours, alternating every 30 minutes. But we didn't stop 24 hours a day across the United States.
Well, when did you sleep?
We didn't.
Oh, lovely.
Those 6 hours. In those 6 hours, you try to sleep. I think I slept a total of 3 hours the entire 7 days. It was so funny because my daughter came to the finish line and we finished at like 11 p.m. On the last day, and we were in bed and she was talking and she said I was talking and then I literally like mid-sentence just passed out. I was like so exhausted. I slept for like a week after that.
Yeah.
That brings me to what is like your hardest thing that you have done in these races?
That was definitely the hardest.
That was the hardest. Yeah.
I've done Ironman. I've done many half Ironmans. I've done so many sprint. So short course racing is for me, right? Because it takes about an hour, 10 minutes, and I can do it as much as I want to, and it doesn't take away from my health, right? Yeah. Ironman, I believe, is not healthy. And that's where my program comes in. I'm here to support you so it doesn't break you down, right? And if you do 3 or 4 Ironmans a year, you're asking for trouble. I mean, it's not a healthy thing to break down your body that much, that every year, you know what I mean? So the average lifespan of a triathlete is only 5 years, and I'm in my 28th year because of the support that I give myself, right?
I mean, Molly and I were often talking about even doing marathons for people that are, over 40 or 50. I don't think it's healthy.
I don't think it is either. Yeah.
No. Right. So that's really interesting. What about, sorry.
No, you also hear about, like these people who do marathons all the time and everyone's like, oh, they're so healthy. They're so great. Like the whole perception of marathon running is like, oh, that person is so healthy. And then they like dropped dead of a heart attack out of nowhere. And you're just and everyone's like, oh, but they, the news is like, oh, they were so healthy. How did that happen? Like nobody knew. And I'm like, I'm sure their blood work must have been terrible. Like,
terrible.
there were definitely signs that your body was run down or that your heart was under immense
anything
pressure.
You're doing to that extreme, like, if someone comes to me and they want to do 3 Ironmans in a year, I actually try to talk them out of it. because I'm like, hey, let's go shorter for, maybe 2 of those races and then really do well at the one big race that's longer. Let's give your body a chance. But I have to say the dirty secret about Ironman racing is you are mostly, sometimes running from something. So it's good to really, I do ask my athletes to like really take a look at why do they want to do 3 Ironmans in a year, because it could be that just avoiding something else in their life. And if they just face whatever that is, usually everything else will get better and they can still have fun and maybe do 1 Ironman a year. You know what I mean?
So you're also a therapist.
Aren't we all? Everybody is.
Yeah.
No, I know, but that's a big deal. I mean, like the people who are really addicted, it's like, well, what are you trying to avoid in this like immense, overproduction of like exercise?
I mean, I will admit that actually my ex-husband admitted to me that he was addicted to the sport, and we ended up getting divorced because he was so addicted to it. He could not commit to spending time with me and my daughter, his daughter, because that was more important. He actually admitted that to me, not a few years ago. And I was like, wow, you've come a long way. I'm glad you can now see that. But I wasn't willing to hang around, I was like, well, it just wasn't right. You know what I mean? Like, and I saw that in him. And so that's why when I started my new company, I was like, I have to, point this out. Like I can still help people do it, achieve their dreams, but we have to not see the obvious, right?
So how do you help people with that then? That's a tricky one. That's like, do you send them to a therapist?
So really making sure that their nutrition is dialed in. Are they eating enough protein, all that stuff, so that their body's, holding up. And like I said, really directing them to race shorter, go, do things that still make them feel good. They can still get that high, right? And controlling their amount of training, right? So you don't have to train 6 hours every weekend, right? So having that balance of training and not training and actually being with the family, and some people aren't interested, and we don't usually last long as a coach athlete relationship. I do the best I can, but if you're super addicted, we're not going to be working together.
Yeah.
And what is your take on the protein intake? It's different for different people. Do you have kind of a certain amount? And also, what is your take on the essential aminos? And right?
So essential amino acids for me are a game changer, and that's where Body Health, I use their Perfect Amino. They have the tablets, and for me, that's game changer as far as getting enough protein in a day. I'm one of those people that recommends 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you want to be. Okay, so whatever your desired weight is, and that's a lot of protein, and it's really hard to break down like all that meat. So I am not a vegetarian, and I believe we should be eating animals. There are so many benefits to healthy animals, not the commercially raised, animals, but we're just, those animals are here for us, I believe. And that's where we get our nutrients from. But however, like having steak all day long, the carnivore diet it's not realistic. It's very hard to break down all that muscle and tissue in your gut, and you can have a lot of gastric distress. So that's where the Perfect Aminos comes in, because you can take 10 perfect aminos and you get 20 grams of protein. So if you're supplementing once or twice a day and you're eating healthy meals and snacks in between with good quality sources of protein, you can get to that goal of a gram per pound, and some people think that's way too much. But I remember hearing about a study they did a group of women, and they had them they just changed their diet. They didn't include exercise, and they actually changed their body composition just by eating more protein.
Oh,
so that's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I think most people are protein deficient for sure.
100%. So do you ever have any like vegetarians or vegans who come to you who are?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I work with them and I help them. That's where the Perfect Aminos come in, right? Because that's helping them get the more protein than they would be getting. But, most of them feel the difference when they do take the aminos and they get that extra protein, and sometimes light bulbs go off and they're willing to eat eggs or just some little source of animal protein. And, they're willing to, but in reality, my mentor, Paul Chek, plants are just as alive as animals.
That's how I feel. Yeah. It's like well, there's that whole study on how plants respond to music when they're played music, and they say actually plants grow better if you talk to them and tell them you love them, which is so weird. Like there's studies on all of that too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So ultimately everything's alive that we're eating. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
we're all energy. We're all energy.
yeah.
So there's really no
100%.
restriction. No, don't restrict any, I believe we're meant to eat it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
We
fat.
feel it. We
So,
feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we used to be fat phobic, right? But fat for me changed my life, right? I went from having this blood sugar up and down from carbohydrate addiction. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicine. Once I changed my diet, healed my gut, I have never had to go back. And I've had some pretty bad tragedies in my life since then.
Thanks.
And because my blood sugar is balanced,
Yeah.
my brain is balanced, right? So fat, fat, fat. If I don't eat fat every single day, I eat pretty much 40% of my diet comes from fat every day, then I am
What
not a
type,
happy camper. Yeah.
what type of fat are you talking? Or do you eat it?
Coconut oil, everything coconut, like I'm cuckoo for coconut milk, coconut oil, almonds, walnuts. I do MCT oil in my coffee, ghee in my coffee every morning.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then of course, avocados and meat, right? So lots of meats have natural fat in them. But yeah, so just lots of olive oil, I do not limit fat, right?
Yeah.
Seed oils. What's your take
Remember
on
all of the, remember like growing up in, the 90s and early 2000s? Like,
Fat
I just
free.
remember being like the cover of every magazine was like fat free this, no fat, fat.
Yes.
Remember the
fat.
Olestra? Yeah, the Olestra
Yeah.
chips and all that
Remember
stuff.
those? And then they give you like
Oh,
horrible
totally.
gas and like
Yes.
diarrhea, basically.
Oh,
Yeah, it's terrible.
I know.
But you know what? There's a really cool statistic that in the late 60s, when they took the fat out of everything, they replaced it with sugar. And guess what happened? Diabetes through the roof, obesity through the roof, and Alzheimer's through the roof.
Yeah, but
Because
they
Exactly.
people haven't
sold,
recovered.
but they sold so much food that way because then you're still
Yes.
hungry because you never
Yeah,
get what you
you're
need.
right.
You're never satiated because you don't
Yeah.
eat any
You
fat.
just keep
So
eating.
then you just keep buying more. It's like
Yep.
it's all a corporate engine, I feel like at the end of the day.
I feel like there is a more of awareness now. I feel like
Yeah.
it's coming back around and people really are realizing that real food is where it's at. Just eat real food,
100%.
What kind of
So,
MCT oil? Sorry, Alex.
go ahead.
What's your favorite brand of MCT oil? Do you use like the
I mean, I like the ones that say organic from Whole Foods or Amazon. I do get those. Storing things in a glass jar as much as possible to avoid the plastics. That's a little bit harder. And ghee, always grass-fed ghee. I love ghee on everything.
not butter? You're not into the butter?
Yeah, I do grass-fed butter as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
what about the electrolytes? What's your take on that? Do you use them before you exercise?
All the time. So I put a pinch of real sea salt in every single glass of water I drink, along with liquid trace minerals. I have a reverse osmosis water filter, for my water. And it was interesting because I would cramp all the time after that because literally there's nothing in that water. So I definitely need, if I don't replace with electrolytes and those trace minerals, I will cramp as I exercise. And of course, magnesium. I put it topically all over my lower legs every night and my feet. And then I take magnesium every night for bed as well.
Yeah.
How
I have
much
a great
magnesium?
magnesium lotion too
Yeah.
that like, I mean, for my daughter, she would get that a lot in this heat, in this
Yeah.
crazy Florida heat. Like even just maybe she wouldn't eat enough that day, but she'd be running around all day as a young kid and she'd have horrible leg cramps in the middle of the night. Just like they'd come on almost like labor pains, like they would come in waves like for like 90 seconds and then they would go away for a few minutes and then it would come back and it was so strange. And
Like
then really, if I rub the magnesium lotion on her legs, that would stop completely.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
actually good for menstrual cramps too. Like you can actually put it in your abdomen. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What
So,
about
Erinne,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
so Erinne, I'm
Questions
involved.
for Erinne.
We have so many questions. Erinne, I'm involved with a company that does hyper-dissolved oxygen and ozone. They have them in their tubs, which is incredible. And in there, we're also putting minerals.
Oh,
so
cool.
because of the nanoparticle size, you are absorbing
Go
the
in.
minerals as well. And magnesium is one of the things that we put in there. It's amazing.
Awesome.
It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, that's like a double whammy. That's great.
Off the charts. So it's very, very cool. Anyways, how much magnesium do you take in pill form?
Minimum. So internally through my mouth, minimum of 400 milligrams a night, but then I put the topical on as well every night. And then if I find if I'm cramping or sweating a lot, like if I'm still cramping when I train, then I will take one at lunch as well. So 800 milligrams internally and then topically as well. But I recommend sometimes up to 12 for people who are really, you know, if they're really magnesium deficient, and then you back off, you go up and you back off, you know what causes to have excess, you have diarrhea. So you know when to back off, and then you find that happy place where you kind of need, you know, you're getting what you need, but you're not getting too much.
Yeah. I always say 5 times your body weight in milligrams of
Okay.
magnesium. Sometimes that's helpful too, because
I
people
like that. That's a great, that's a great
they're like,
recommendation.
how many pills do I take? And I'm like, usually a lot more than you think. Like,
Right. You need more than you use magnesium for every function in your whole body. Like, you use it all the time, and our soil is so depleted, we don't have the same minerals in our in our veggies and stuff like that. So it's definitely a much needed mineral for sure, for sure.
I love that. That's great. Can I ask a question? Maybe, Molly, do you have anything else, or to sum it up? I have.
I think we covered most everything. Yeah, you go ahead. You ask your question.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for the listeners to hear, what does a day of Erinne look like? What is your kind of tricks and hacks for being able to be performing at the level that you are and running this company, you know, being a mom, but also performing in your triathlon, racing yourself? What does a day of Erinne look like?
So I typically, when I'm working, I do wake up typically between 4:30 and 5, depending on the day. And the first thing I do is meditate. So I meditate for a minimum of 10 minutes every morning. Sometimes when I'm not having to rush off to a group class or a client, then I will meditate up to 2 hours. So meditation and spirituality are a huge part of my life. My boyfriend passed away 11 years ago, and I was not spiritual in any way before that, but he kind of forced the issue, because when he crossed over, he's like, I've got to find a way to keep in touch with her. So my spirituality is very, very important to me, and it helps me stay grounded. So from there, I always have my bulletproof coffee, which is a generic name for butter coffee, right? So I put my MCT and my ghee, and I have organic French roast coffee in a French press, and I add mushrooms. So I'm a big fan of mushrooms for my immune system. I use 4-6 Maddox immune mushroom blend, and I use maca powder in my coffee as well. And then I also add cinnamon essential oils. But before I have my coffee, I have my green juice. So 24 ounces of a green juice with also essential oils, lemon and DDR prime. I'm a doTERRA representative. I love doTERRA. And then I also have, I put methylene blue in there for a little bit of extra energy. I do find that that really helps me have a clean energy, as opposed to the coffee. And the fat also helps stabilize the caffeine, so it's a longer burn. So I used to be diagnosed with hypoglycemia when I was little, and I would have to eat every hour, and I was known as the hangry one because I was really cranky all the time if I didn't eat. But with the butter coffee every morning, I can go a couple hours, right, and be totally fine. It's completely different blood sugar response for me, and that's where fat has changed my life. So then I'll go work with my clients. I will either, oh, my battery's about to die. Let me go plug in. I will either work with clients in a group setting or one-on-one. And then right after, I do my training, because I'm already wherever I am. If I'm at the track or I'm at the pool, right, I'm going to be in the location, and I want to save time. And when I'm out there, the first thing I do after I train is have 10 aminos. So I come back to my car. Miami is very, lots.
Uh-oh, we lost her. Erinne? Oh, maybe her battery died.
She got frozen.
That's okay.
And I do have, what'd you say?
Oh, you're back.
Oh, wait, did you lose me?
Yes, you were frozen. That's okay. No worries. We'll edit that.
Okay. So yeah, I use EMF protection always in front of the computer. And I also have blue light blocking glasses, because I do find I'm extremely sensitive to EMF. In Miami, I sleep way worse than when I'm in Vero Beach. Vero Beach, I can sleep like a baby because the amount of EMF in the atmosphere is so much less. And I'm near the ocean, which is very soothing and, you know, kind of eliminates all that EMF as well. But I find that the more I'm in the ocean, the more grounded I am. And then I also like to be barefoot a lot, at least once or twice during the day in my backyard, just to ground myself from being on the computer all day. It does drain me. Yeah. Do you guys find that when you have, when you're in front of the computer? Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's so draining. It's like you feel like you kind of feel like a zombie. Alex sent me recently that virtual reality, like a picture of these people wearing these virtual reality things, and you're kind of feel like a zombie, and like they're all overweight and they're all like that's how I feel after a day on the computer.
It's the most awful thing.
It's awful. I don't know how people do it like all day. Like I make a conscious effort to be on and then I take a break.
Oh,
and
totally.
Be on and I take a break. Yeah, I can't.
Same.
I can't do it all day long every day.
Aaron, I think most people are not aware. They're not aware. They feel like kind of crap, and they're just kind of unaware of like even that it can be different, I think.
And that's what we're here for, right? To help bring awareness.
Exactly.
We're here to bring awareness and just help people question why do they feel bad, instead of going to the doctor and saying, I feel bad, and then putting a Band-Aid on it.
Correct.
Right? Let's get to the root of understanding why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and then I do have some meditation time, usually mid-afternoon after lunch. I eat a really healthy salad, typically with lots of olive oil and a protein and lots of veggies and avocado and all that good stuff. And then usually my daughter comes home, we walk the dogs. I definitely try to get off the computer by 4 p.m. And if I do want to do any weights, that's when I'll do it, like a little weight training, that's one of the things that I feel like most women don't realize, how heavy they need to lift to retain the muscle mass, because we're all losing it quicker than we want to. And, you know, muscle burns fat at rest. So the more that you can retain your muscle, the better. And it definitely helps you in every aspect of your life. And then, of course, having a healthy dinner. And I try to get to bed by like 8:30.
Well, so, you're up at like 4:30 in the morning. So yeah, I know.
Exactly. It's so funny because my daughter literally puts me to bed, and she has since she was like 10. Like,
wow, that's incredible.
You know, honestly, like there is such a big connection between exercise and sleep. I've discovered, like in my journey, and I had some burnout too, where I had stopped exercising, and then I was like, why is my sleep so shitty? Like, there really is a connection there, because you start to exercise more, and then boom, you're like hit the pillow, and you're like,
you're asleep.
Out. Yeah. So what about the transition, like when people go through perimenopause and menopause? We talked about like kind of periods, but like, you know, like what happens when you're, you know, all of your hormones are kind of depleted? Was there a transition there in how you trained, or how did that go? Oh, I think we lost her. Hello? Oh, we lost her.
She looks very cute, frozen as well.
Yeah.
Very.
Hello. Oh no.
There you go. You're back.
Oh, there you are.
I don't know what happened. Yeah. Hopefully the waves will stay sustained. Yeah. So for menopause, yes, it's definitely a game changer, because actually chronic, you know, endurance exercise is actually bad when you're going through menopause. And you actually it's really a time to make sure you're getting the nutrition right, because the carbs and the chronic, you know, cardio are actually make your menopause worse. Right. Yeah. But guess what? It's what I love to do. So that's where myself, through my own journey, I've trained less. I do less volume of training, do more weight training, and eat better, more fat, more protein, to help balance and counteract that cardiovascular activity, because it is, you know, not good with all those hormone changes. Right. And it's a journey, you know, it's a journey. Yeah. It's just one we have to go through. But I will say that there is a way through it, that you don't have to necessarily go, you know, on the hormone replacement theory. There's a great woman, if you guys are interested, Kim Anami. Like she believes that menopause is a myth. Like she doesn't believe that it even exists.
Oh,
a little bit out there. She's a little bit out there, but she believes in your sexual health to combat your menopause symptoms. So she's very, very
Oh.
interesting.
Well, that's always fun. A fun addition for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love that. And can you talk to us when you say, how heavy weights are you talking about? How many
Oh,
repetitions?
no.
How heavy weights, and you know, for how long?
Yeah, so way heavier than like 8 or 10 pounds, let's say. You need to be in the 15s to 20s to 25s to even 30-pound weights, but you have to have skill. And if you don't have the skill to handle the weights, I've been doing weights since I was, 18 years old. So I know how, I know how the body works in exercise physiology, and I was a personal trainer, right? So if you don't have that, like, I'm really excited because my sister has actually started doing weight training with a personal trainer. I'm like, perfect, like, this is so good for you. So because you want to be able to lift heavy without hurting yourself, and it's easy to hurt yourself if you don't know how to do it, right? But the cool thing is you don't have to do a lot of crazy things like you see on Instagram. You don't want to do that stuff. All you want to do is squat, lunge, push, pull, bend, and rotate. Those 6 movements are the movement of every human being. So if you include in a workout, so when I did my workout last night, it took me literally 25 minutes. I used 20-pound dumbbells. I did squats. I did push-ups or chest press on my fit ball. I did rows. I did do pull-ups because I'm training for a swim event. I did deadlifts, so that's my bend, and then I did rotation, Russian twists. So I got it all done. I did 2 sets of 20 of every single one, and it was heavy. Like, I felt it, like it was a stressful environment for me. Not a 10-pound, okay, I could do 150 of these, and there's no resistance. You want to be straining the last couple of reps.
Right. So 2 sets of 20s is what you recommend. Oh, wow, Miami is having Wi-Fi issues.
It's all her like anti-EMF stuff. But.
Oh my God, I love it. So 2 sets of 20s is what you recommend when you work out, because I do
Even less. Like, if you can go heavier and do less reps, like 8 to 12 reps is perfect. I'm still doing endurance training, so I'm kind of combining them both, but 8 to 12 is all you need. Heavier weights, 8 to 12 reps.
I do 3 times 12, but I'm doing lighter than 3
Perfect.
sets of 12.
That's great.
Of 12.
Yeah, I would go heavier and try to go 8. Yeah, just see how you feel.
Definitely. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to tell you is, so my husband is almost 60 now, and he is now watching these guys on, YouTube or whatever. So he's doing pull-ups, and he's up to doing something like 30 pull-ups consecutively, which is incredible. Great. But now his new thing is he want to do pull-ups, and he want to go, all the way up. Do you know what I'm talking about? Race himself. And he's like, he's looking at all these guys, and he's like, it looks so easy. But I'm so hard. And he's like, he just can't. And he's like, he just can't. So it's like, I wonder how he's going to get there. But I think he will. But the other
hire Erinne.
Yes, that's what all technique. Yeah, technique.
But the other, I have 2 questions on the kind of on the running. So because I'm a runner myself, and I love running, right? So let's say, what happens is, like, to me, is like, I have a set, like, let's say route, or I'm on the treadmill and I do 5 miles. And let's say to push over that is like kind of hard. So now when I say older, I feel like great and young, of course. I'm, 20, but I'm actually not. So it's hard. Like, what would you say to someone like me? How are you pushing to the next level? What is that?
Yeah, this is a really great question, because we are the top of the food chain, right? Human beings. So when you do the same thing every time you work out, your body actually finds a way to burn the least amount of energy doing it. You get super efficient. So the best way to keep your body improving and improving on your performance is to do different things every single time you exercise. So you could take that 5-mile run and instead do a 1-mile warm up, and then do 3 by 1 mile a little bit faster with a 1-minute walk break in between, and then a 1-mile cool down. So that's a completely different workout. Your body will be like, oh, this is different. Well, we need to burn a little extra calories here. We need to use a little extra muscle here because this is completely different, right? So the key is mixing it up. I mean, get good enough that you can do it well, right? So if you need to know how to run and have good technique. But once you're there, you got to mix it up. Do some incline, right? So you could do 5 by 1 mile with 3 times 1 mile uphill. You could do half-mile repeats, right? So the cool thing is about exercise, there are unlimited ways to mix it up.
But what happens to me though is I get on, let's say, the treadmill, and I kind of like, I have my own little weird thing. So that comes to my question number 2, which is, so my weird thing is this: I get on the treadmill, I set it on 7.6. Okay. So I 7.6 and I'm going there for 5 miles. Okay. And I just go same speed, everything. All right. But I am kind of meditating while I do it. And I also sing loud. Yeah. So I look like that crazy person in the gym that you see, like that crazy woman, and like hand gestures and all that weird shit going on, right?
Love it.
Like, she's cuckoo. She needs to be in like a mental institution. I am feeling so good, right? But then the other thing that I know is, and I wonder if you agree with this, you shouldn't even be breathing through your mouth when you're running.
Okay, so here's the deal. When you are breathing through your nose only, you're burning more fat. Okay, so all the time, just sitting here right now, we burn a ratio of fat, protein, and carbohydrate in different ratios. When you sleep, you burn mostly fat. So if you're looking to lose weight, sleep an extra hour. Don't go to the gym and train, because guess what? If you run at an intensity where your mouth is open, you're not burning mostly fat anymore. You're burning carbohydrate. So this is really important. If you want to burn fat and lose weight, you have to keep the intensity low or really high, like HIIT workout. Those 2 areas burn the most fat. Okay, so, but performance-wise, to go fast, like that's a higher zone, that's a higher effort. You have to open your mouth. So this is where I was explaining before, when we train someone, we really improve their aerobic capacity by keeping their mouth closed and have them nasal breathing initially. And then maybe once a week they have that workout, but we're also doing the high intensity stuff because that's how you improve your performance. Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I should basically stop what I'm doing, but it feels so damn good. I'm like,
No. So we're doing it for therapy. That's a whole different reason, right? You need to keep that, right? But then mix up. So do that one once or twice a week, but then mix it up, right? Change it up. You will see a difference. Yeah, you will see a difference.
I love that. And then also the other question I have is the green juice. What do you put in your green juice?
So I use Organifi. I have mixed it up. Paleo Valley is another brand that I love. So Paleo Valley green juice. I love their vitamin C. It's made from cherries. And I love their collagen protein. I also put that in my coffee and pretty much every smoothie. That's my favorite protein powder. 1 ingredient, bone broth protein, right? So in the green juice, I do the lemon essential oils, the DDR prime, which is like a cellular based, like it has thyme, oregano. It's like a blend. And I really do believe that helps my immune system. Like I don't get sick. Like I went 8 years before COVID, before getting sick ever. COVID did get me, but since that period of time where everybody was getting sick, I haven't been sick again. And people can be sick all around me and I don't get sick, right? It's just one of those things that if I choose to believe that if someone next to me is going to cause me to get sick, then I'll get sick. I believe my immune system is really strong, and then I do everything I can to help protect it with my nutrition and my lifestyle. So yeah.
Scandi Labs. You're taking Scandi Labs, I hope.
Exactly. That's what I use. Right? I actually was feeling bad the other day, and I'm like, I better try it before we have this podcast. And it totally worked. But I had it before, because Blair gave it to me before. My sister gave it to me before when we were on the Bahamas, and she's like, here, take this. This is going to help us. Nobody gets sick in the house, right? So yeah, definitely. So I am a big fan of using my herbs and Scandi Labs when you're starting to feel run down. So you don't even go there. You don't let yourself go
Don't
there.
even go there. That's it. Don't even give it a chance to go there. I call it attack. Attack, you feel something, you attack.
You get it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
flush it down.
oregano, that oregano in, in that doTERRA too is so good because it goes in and kind of
So good.
cleanses you. It's like a mini cleanse, it's
Yeah,
kind of like it's kind of like a smaller version of an antibiotic, but it's going to go in and kill anything that you've eaten that's,
Yes.
not good, that's causing issues too.
yeah,
So.
they say oregano, melaleuca, and there's one more that's like a natural antibiotic. Can't remember the last one, but I love frankincense as well. That's another
Yes,
one of
that's
my
a great
favorite
one too.
oils. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have any more questions. We just want to know our listeners to where can they find you, right? Where can they
Yeah,
find
awesome. I have a free gift as well. So I'm offering everybody a nutrition guide. So yeah, full circle, www.fullcirclecoaching.com/nutrition guide. You can download a free nutrition guide just basically to help you kickstart a healthy nutrition program if you're interested. And then if you're interested in more, I do have my nutrition essentials program and of course, triathlon training, but I'm on Instagram, Full Circle Coaching, and Erinne Guthrie, spelled the double N and the E. And I have a free Facebook group called Triathlon Obsessed as well.
Ooh. So can people work with you if they don't necessarily want to do a triathlon, but if they
Oh
just want to
yeah,
get better and okay,
yes,
if they could lose
definitely.
weight or, all the basic stuff too. Cool.
Yeah. So I have a completely separate nutrition program. I have people that never do a triathlon with me, and they're just here for the holistic lifestyle coaching and nutrition aspects. Yep.
Cool.
That's so great.
Love it.
And the other things that you partner with is the doTERRA oils. They can buy
Yeah,
through
so
you.
yeah, doTERRA. I have a lot of affiliates. Like I said, the Muir, the Vitargo. I mean, when people join my program on my website, actually it's on my website right now. You can click on the affiliates button and there's like over 40 affiliates that I recommend. And everything is tried and tested. There's nobody that I recommend that I don't personally use myself and they work, right? And you're there now too.
Hey.
Great.
I'm very excited. No, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, ladies. This was so fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Oh.
We picked up a lot of great tips too, because we're in the health space and I do like functional and nutrition and stuff, but I feel like I haven't really explored exercise in this way before as much as you're such an expert in this. It's so cool to hear from you and
So
really
cool.
learn from you. Yeah.
Thank
So
you. I
cool.
appreciate it. And reach out. Let's do something. If you guys want to train for anything, I'm here for you.
Oh,
Maybe you and I, Biohacking Blonde, should do a triathlon together.
yes.
They have a Vero Beach triathlon. The Vero Beach triathlon in May.
In May.
Yeah.
All right, we better start now, Molly.
Maybe we should just start with a 5K. I think you and I can handle that.
For sure. Definitely. The turkey trot. You guys could do the turkey trot.
Turkey trot. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we should do that one. This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Erinne.
much. Have a great day. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.